July 20th, 1944, until the very end, May 8th, 1945, when the war ends. That is his heaviest drug consumption, because then he's really like, this is the most intense time. One of the things, for example, that happens is that to treat his blown eardrums, which were connected with heavy pain that he experienced, a new doctor came in. Giesing was his name, and he had cocaine. He brought cocaine, which was a legal product at the time, also by Merck. Germany was importing the coca leaves from Peru mostly. And then Merck cocaine was supposed to be the best in the world. Like there were even like product forgers in China who like replicate the Merck label with the Merck cocaine. Merck cocaine was the best cocaine. And this doctor came in and he wanted to give the cocaine because it was something to numb the pain, basically. It was an anesthetic. And Hitler was like, I want more of this stuff. And Giesing writes this down. I found these documents actually in Washington in the National Archive. Hitler demands to use cocaine, like he wants the doctor to brush it into his nostrils, which is, the most effective way to take cocaine, I guess. And then he's like, finally, I can think clear again. And the doctor realized this is a drugged guy. Like he once he gets like onto a potent drug, he like completely embraces it and wants it more. So Giesing became very, tried to get the coke away from Hitler. Hitler demanded more and more of these cocaine treatments because I can feel, finally I can breathe again and I don't feel like injured anymore. And actually on cocaine, he developed the strategy of a second Ardennes offensive. We talked about the mountainous terrain of the Ardennes in Belgium in 1940. And Hitler wanted to do it again in late 1944, like a surprise attack. And like his generals, they couldn't believe it because it was a ridiculous idea, because the Americans were already on the continent. Like it was no chance it could have worked out. It would just mean that a lot of young German soldiers are going to die. That's what it meant, his second Ardennes offensive. But he had it on cocaine. You can see it very clearly, like Morel. And Morel didn't like this. He didn't like this other doctor coming in with the cocaine. Like the doctor started competing. It's called the doctor's war, because the one guy gives him cocaine and Morel gives him oxycodone, which is an opioid. So Hitler was kind of speedballing in August and September 1944 and made very crazy then decisions, very bad, very for the Nazi war effort, very bad decisions for the world. It was good that he was soaked up. I actually spoke to a British historian who told me that he had investigated, Anthony Beaver is his name, a great colleague of mine. He had investigated the British intelligence's plan to assassinate Hitler, because obviously there were these plans, and they had realized in 1944 that it's actually not good to assassinate Hitler, because he was already so off the rails that he weakened, the German war effort. Let's say Hitler was assassinated, then let's say, Himmler becomes the Führer or something like this. Like Himmler, he was also a total freak. Like he did 2 hours of yoga each morning, because he thought the Aryan race is connected with ancient Vedic. So he was into yoga, but he was not into drugs. So let's just say they would have had an efficient leader, would have been more dangerous, basically, to the Allies than keeping totally drugged out Hitler.
Wow. So they wanted him to stay up because it was better.
Yeah. They actually did not bomb pharmaceutical companies until like in December 1944, British bombers bombed the Merck company, and then Eukhodal could not be made anymore. And actually Hitler then moves to the bunker and he doesn't have Eukhodal anymore, which was, his drug of choice. He received it every other day in a very high dosage, 20 milligrams intravenously of the most potent opioid. So he became a junkie. He became addicted to this. So then when he moves to the bunker in the end phase of the war, just before that, the Merck production site had been bombed, who were supplying it. Morel doesn't have it anymore. And that creates quite a friction between patient A, as Morel called Hitler, and the doctor. because the doctor basically made him hooked on a substance, and suddenly it's like the one mistake of the dealer shouldn't make your client hooked, and then you can't supply anymore, and also no one else could supply. Hitler couldn't go somewhere else. There's a report by Morell driving on a motorcycle through bombed out Berlin, like February, March 45, like going from pharmacy to pharmacy, asking, do you still have like a supply of Eukodal,
Wow.
So the situation became, Hitler lost World War II, which was not good for him, but he also was on heavy withdrawal from opioids, which made him feel like that leads to the complete degeneration of the character.
Wow.
Yeah, so that Third Reich kind of crumbled in on itself.
Fascinating. Probably would have lost anyway, but still,
of course,
fascinating that it all happened, and it's kind of ironic that it happens while he's in full withdrawal.
Yeah. I mean, the only drug really that he had left in the end was Harmine, which we spoke about Harmine. Like I studied like what Morell still had like in his bag, basically, like looked at the bottom of his bag and he still had Harmine, so he gave Harmine to Hitler. So Hitler was I don't know what Harmine does to you if you just take it singularly, but it doesn't, and sugar. Like Hitler more and more demanded cake because sugar does actually give you a little high. I mean, it does,
a little bit.
Even if you're in the bunker losing World War II, you still kind of crave that sugar high. But at the time, they had to already crumble the cake for him because he couldn't. Like he was shaking so much from the withdrawal. Like he took it in a spoon and kind of put it in his mouth. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.